Welcome to Charts Today. My name's David Linton, and today's edition for Monday, the 9th of January, comes to you from Singapore. I'm here seeing clients for a few days, and so we are several hours ahead of the European Open this morning. Um, but it gives us a chance to wrap up where we ended on Friday. We see here that the dollar index is just making a little bit of a comeback. We're still below the cloud on the 60-minute chart, so short term we're still a bit bearish. But of course, there's no real downside targets to speak of. Strong dollar outlook continues, and we're seeing that the euro has had a little bit of a rally the last few days of last week. Just pulling off a little bit at the moment. These medium-term downside targets and the long-term targets still hanging over us very much. And the fact that we're hanging at these levels is pretty bearish. We do have a couple of upside targets here, 107, 109, but really we expect the bigger trends to dominate. So expect to see a sell-off in the euro at some time in the coming days. Keep an eye on your 1-minute charts for that. The Japanese yen we're seeing the dollar yen rate just now improving as well. So dollar strength is really starting to return. So that's quite key. And this in Asian trade, we're seeing the sterling rate against the dollar just again coming bearish, coming negative. We did negate one of the downside targets here of 120, but this hitting resistance here on the 60-minute point and figure chart, this will give us a new downside thrust target even lower than 120. So we expect this 120 level to really come under pressure with the pound dollar rate. And if we look at sterling against the euro, we're at 116 at the moment. We were as high as 118 last week. So again, that's coming off. We've got a downside target now to 113. So we are seeing 2% downside here as well, potentially. So that's also quite key. And just as a proxy for sterling, if we look at the sterling Swiss rate, we see that really coming off as well. So keeping an eye on that. The US stocks had a good close on Friday. We're up about 1/3% on the S&P 500. Bullish on all three time horizons: short term, medium term, and long term. Just looking bullish all round, really. Got 22% upside or 20% upside on the long term. The short term target has now been activated. That's to 24.53. That's 7.7% upside. So really now market looking very strong again. This 2300 level now looking like it will break this week. So really strong stock markets getting off to a good start for 2017. All of these prices coming from Thomson Reuters Icon into Updata this morning, by the way. If we look at the Nasdaq again, similarly, we broke here. On the chart, we've got upside targets of 3%. That's 5160 area, and so really again looking bullish. A strong showing from tech on Friday. The Russell 2000 index, which has been the strong performer in the US, the broader base 2000 US stocks did fall slightly on Friday, so that bucked the trend a little bit. But of course, it has had an amazing run over the last year, and since the Trump election has really rocketed more than the other indices. So interesting to see that had a little bit of a slowdown. So will this week be the week that the Dow Jones Industrial Average breaks 20,000 points for the first time? Probably yes. We just are now about 35 points adrift, 36 points adrift, but at the moment we're just we have this upside target of 1%. Not a lot of targets to tell us. If you really want to see when it's going to happen, keep an eye on the 1-minute chart. But it does look like it's a matter of time now, and probably this week. Looking at the futures markets, up very, very slightly. So that's also quite key. The other story in Europe for the week was that the FTSE 100 index broke 7,200 for the first time and closed above that level. So that was also really critical. And we see here that we're just bullish on all three time horizons. A bit of a shortage of short-term targets, but a lot of upside targets here: 9%, 14%. So we are just seeing again that that market looking pretty strong too. So the FTSE 100 being driven by a lot of changes in the US market, and also, of course, oil being stronger, which we'll look at, Shell and BP being a factor there. The 250 again, just powering ahead, looking pretty bullish all round, and now just holding, breaking that 2015 high, which was just proving to be a little bit of resistance through the latter part of 2016. And we look at the DAX. The DAX is just stalled a little bit over the last week, but it really is just holding the gains that we've seen. Again, looking bullish on all time horizons, so a better week ahead probably for the DAX as well. Here in Asia, we're seeing the Shanghai Composite Index up just very slightly, but we are hitting quite short-term resistance here on the lagging line on the 60-minute chart on the cloud, and we are still just finding resistance here in the cloud as well, and of course the long-term chart not looking great. So still a little bit of a concern there on China. And if we look at the Hang Seng Index, we see here as well that we are now bullish on the short term, but bearish on the medium and long term charts. We've got an upside target of about 5%, so we might see a spurt there as well. And the Sensex index in India, we're seeing that also just selling off as well today, just down 0.4%, so quite significant, but we've got upside potential of 3%. Looking at the Australian market, powering ahead, another strong session this morning. We've got all these upside targets, one of the best looking markets around at the moment, the Aussie market, bullish on all 3 time horizons and got off to an amazing start for the year. Brent crude just holding the positive position on the cloud here, so we're bullish on all 3 time horizons, and we are just seeing that targets coming in, but really the medium-term targets for the next few months are into the 70s, 72, 76. So another good 30% upside there on Brent. So we really do expect to see that oil prices strong as they normally are in the first part of the year. So that's going to have an impact on quite a lot of things. That gas still bearish. We said last week this downside target of 323. We kind of got to that. We are still looking bullish on the long and medium term charts, but this is a time of year where we do tend to sell off. We saw last year the first quarter we did have a pretty poor quarter, and that's coming through to roost as well. And if we look at some of the softs really not having a great start to the week. Soybeans off 1.6%. And quite a lot of downside targets here, 4% downside, 10% downside on the medium term. These charts just all coming under quite a bit of pressure. We talked a bit about precious metals. Gold is really just holding on to that's 1170 level, so that's quite significant. The end of the week we just did go sideways, but we are seeing the New Year recovery kicking in. Support just been found here on the cloud. We are bearish still on the medium-term time horizon, but it's interesting to see the move that we had last year. Will we get that same move this year? We've got this upside target to 1192, so that will be quite key. And if we look at silver, we're seeing much the same picture here. We're just going sideways at the moment, an upside of about 1% as well. Very similar picture, of course, to gold. So precious metals just outperforming the softs at the moment as we are in the new year phase. Taking a look at US interest rates, we see here that we are still bearish on the short term, and no real clear short-term targets to play for. But we still do have this 4.4% yield on the 10-year Treasury, so it'll be quite interesting to see when we get the next kick up. If it's really waiting for a move through this cloud. We mentioned that tech was a really strong performer on Friday. Just taking a look at some of those performances, Apple was up over 1%. And suggesting a really good start to the week here. 5% upside. We really are just seeing tech motoring now, so bullish on all 3 time frames there on Apple. Google had an even stronger rise, up 1.5%, and we see that in the chart. It's quite a good pattern here. We're just starting to run again, bullish here, and we see on the weekly that we're starting to make new highs here. So really strong, of course. As technical analysts, we love to see new highs, and quite a lot of upside targets there to play for as well. So Google looking good there. If we take a look at Amazon, Amazon was up nearly 2%. That was also really significant. We've got this upside target of 3.8%. It has been an underperformer of late. You can see here the October high, we're nowhere near that, and we're not making any new highs here on the weekly, but it's starting to come through and recover. And of course, one of the other bellwethers that we talk about quite a bit is Facebook. We mentioned this 115 level was quite critical on Facebook shares. We've bounced off that level, and we are now just starting to test the cloud. We're up over 2.2% on Friday, and interesting, we're just hitting some resistance here, but we didn't activate this downside target, and we have got these upside targets as much as 50% upside on Facebook. So these long-term targets, of course, will take time to come through, but it's a pretty bullish chart in the long term. Short term, we've turned bullish again. The medium term, we've just got to get back above the cloud. That's it for today in Singapore. Until tomorrow, happy charting. See you then.